Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Nintegi Gamer. Welcome back to Spider-Man. In the last episode, guys, well, we finished up the game. So today, guys, we're going to be going over all of the special stuff and extras in the game that I screwed around in as a kid and really make this game super duper nostalgic to me. Really quickly, one thing I want to go over, there is a whole training mode with different game modes that you can do that we won't be touching, but I did want to show off. And there's a whole bunch of like training rooms for you to test stuff out and do mini games. So there's that whole part of the game too if you want to play after you're done with the story mode and kid mode, because if you suck like me, there's kid mode. But anyway, records is just your records of the training mode stuff. But what we want to move on to is the specials menu, where we have costumes, the level select, which you unlock by after beating the game, although there's a code you can put in to get it right away, and my personal favorite, cheats. So we're actually going to start off with the cheats. So it's your standard cheat menu, and of course I've got most, if not all, the cheats pulled up here for me to go through. But something real quick I want to show before we actually do that is probably one of my favorite features of this game, and I always got a kick out of when I was a kid, and that is Spidey does not like it when you curse. If you put in a cuss word or a swear word, oh my god, something magical just happens. So I'm gonna put in good old shit. I can spell, don't worry, and this happens. Oh my god, it never fails to put a smile on my face. There are a bunch of curse words that I will not say here in my video. If you want to experiment, go have fun and experiment. But yes, Spidey will come up and punch the curse word into a different word, and it's completely random. From shit to Iowa. I've never been to Iowa. I would assume it's not shit. So we'll put in Shiza one more time to see what happens. Not sit. Dude, gosh darn it, me. Oh, wow. I know how to spell. Toffee. Okay. Anyway, guys, we are now going to go through all of the cheat codes here, so you guys can have some fun. You guys don't have to look stuff up. So if you guys want to view all the characters in the character viewer, just put in see view 'em. And also, before we continue, I do want to add, funny enough, all these cheat words. Also, I should actually reiterate, these are the cheat codes for the PS1 version. All versions have their own special cheat codes. So cheat codes for the PS1 version don't work on the Dreamcast version. I found that out recently. And yeah, they all have their own cheat codes to input. So these are strictly for the PS1. And I bet you're wondering why I am going over cheat codes, because a lot of them are actually pretty funny to put in and also reference what the cheat code is. So see view them, you get to see all of the characters in the character viewer. If you are a lazy bum, you can put in all 6 CC and get all of the comic book covers. So all 6 comic books. Haha. If you want to watch all of the movies before you beat in the game, watch them. Just watch them. Ruler doubles as a alternate scene for the bugle level, and also changes something. And it gives you a new character to view in the character viewer. One of the people that actually worked on the game. Joel Jewett, executive producer. Moving on, we have some of the costumes. You put in AMZ BG Man, you get the amazing Bagman costume. I'm going to go through all of these, and then we're going to put in a master code that just unlocks everything, so we can go over stuff. But here are the individual codes. So AMZBG Man, Amazing Bagman. BN Riley, Ben Riley. Deluxe, which we'll actually put in. I can just go back to the menu to show you. Gives you big head mode. So you can have Spidey look like this for the whole time you're playing the game. It's goofy. But also, fun fact, I guess I can just show you what he looks like with this, all the other costumes. It's goofy looking. But if you ever want to turn off a password, you just have to put it back in again. So, bam. I believe that turns it off. Yeah, it turns it off. So if you ever want to turn off, you don't want to have big head mode on the whole time, just put the password in again. S Cosmic gives you the Captain Universe costume. CMC Buff gives you all the, okay, I'm sorry. I guess CMC Buff gives you all the comic books, but all six gives you all of the comic book covers of the story. Because you guys remember, the story mode has comic book covers from chapter to chapter. So all 6 CC will give you all the comic book story covers, and CMC Buff will give you all the collectible comic books. LLADNEK, Ladnik, will give you debug mode, so you can see numbers crunching while the game is playing. Doctor, DCSTUR, gives you infinite health. Rust Crust, RUST, gives you invulnerability. Ruler pops up again because it has 2 different effects. Excelsior, Stanley's famous catchphrase, straight up gives you the level select. MJ's Stud gives you the Peter Parker costume, which we'll also get into later because it is really weird. And then if you don't like Peter Parker, you can put in Almost Parker, ALMST PKR, which gives you the Quick Change costume. Letter S gives you Scarlet Spider, which is just letter space S. 20NDN gives you 2099, Spidey 2099. Parallel gives you the Spidey Unlimited costume. And then CGO SSETT gives you the storyboard viewer. Blix Black Spider, BLK SPIDR, gives you the symbiote, but you get the symbiote from being the symbiote costume from being the game. Strudel, SCRUDL, gives you unlimited webbing. And second to last is Eelnats, EELNATS, which unlocks everything. And then What If mode is just a jarble of letters. GBH, SRS, PM. What If mode is probably one of the coolest things in this game. We won't be covering it because it would warrant a completely new playthrough from start to finish. Because what If mode does is it doesn't completely change up the whole single player story, but it adds things to it. So like, for example, some of the in-game billboards now depict different things on them. You can find characters and talk to them. And the characters' dialogue can be straight up different. Like, the Race to the Bugle, Scorpion and Jonah end up playing a game of Marco Polo instead of Scorpion issuing death threats to Jonah. So that's always fun. But anyway, we're going to put in Eelnats now so I can show you guys all of the costumes. Because as I was talking about in the last episode, the costumes are probably my favorite part of this game. Because they are not just cosmetic. They have secondary features, which the new Spider-Man game coming out September 7th will be doing too. And I think that is amazing because there has not been a Spider-Man game, I think since Enter Electro, where the costumes aren't just purely cosmetic, which I freaking love. And I remember just booting up the game, getting my old cheat book, putting in the password to unlock the costumes, and then just having fun screwing around with the costumes. So we're going to go over all of these costumes now, and I'll be talking, and as I'm talking, I'll be showing off gameplay for these. So to start, we really don't need to jump to gameplay here, but we have the amazing Spider-Man suit that, we get for the whole game, so you guys have seen that. So let's jump to our very first costume, and that is going to be the 2099 outfit. So this is Spider-Man 2099 from the Future Line comics, and this is, fun fact, not actually Peter Parker. This Spider-Man is Miguel O'Hara, and he works for a company in 2099 that is evil, and he ends up getting the Spider-Man powers in a unique way. This costume will give you double damage, so imagine the webbed fists stacked on top of this. It's just ridiculous, and this costume looks so cool, even on PS1 standards, even if it looks a little pixelated, but yeah, so if you want double damage, you go Spider-Man 2099. Next up, we have the symbiote suit. We got to see this a little bit when we beat the game. And if you don't like the symbiote suit, how can you call yourself a fan of Spider-Man? No, I'm kidding. But I just love the sleek and simple design of the symbiote suit. In this game, it's really blue. It's normally jet black. But there's an uncanniness that I just super fond of, and I actually like it being blue. And Venom is also really, really blue in this game when he's supposed to be jet black. But I don't know, maybe it just might be nostalgia, but I am super fond of the blueness to the costume. And like I mentioned in the last episode, this costume will give you unlimited webbing. So you will never have to worry about picking up web cartridges. You can spam all the web moves you want. So it's a really neat one, finish the game completion item. So it's like you finish the game, now you can screw around with all the web abilities as much as you want. And next up, guys, we have the Captain Universe costume. And this is probably the most OP costume in the game. Captain Universe is when Spider-Man ends up inheriting the power Cosmic, and he just gets an insane power boost where he can pretty much shoot energy out of his hands, and his spider powers are like multiplied to tenfold. But yeah, this costume is OP because not only does it get the double damage of the Spider-Man 2099 costume, not only will you not run out of webbing, but you are straight up invincible. You can't take damage. This costume gives you God mode, essentially. I mean, you get everything. You get no damage, you deal extra damage, and you don't run out of webbing. So if you ever want to just screw around with stuff in the game, this is the costume to do it in, because you don't have to worry about, getting hurt or anything. So it's a really fun costume to mess around with. Alright, and next up, guys, we have the Spidey Unlimited costume. And this is probably one of my favorite costumes in the game. Not just because of the costume's effects, but what it's based off of. This, fun fact, is not based off of any costume from a comic book, but rather from one of the cartoon shows of the same name of the costume, Spider-Man Unlimited, which was a very niche Spider-Man cartoon about Spidey going to a parallel universe, hence the parallel cheat code to unlock the costume, where the whole world is ran by furries. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's ran by anthropomorphic animals, and Spidey gets there because of Carnage and Venom doing BS-y stuff as usual. But like in the show, this costume allows you to turn invisible. Because in the show, I believe the costume is powered by nanomachines. So, really cool. You can, with the press of L2, go completely invisible. And this works on all the enemies in the game, with the exception of bosses, because that would be pretty OP. But it's still really cool. I mean, it's almost like having infinite health. As long as you have this turned on, only like fire and pits can really harm you or straight up kill you, because Venom enemies don't see you. don't believe this works on the attack helicopter. I think they might consider that as a boss. But yeah, so if you also want like a costume to just screw around with, this is also a fun costume to use in the game. And the only thing that keeps it from being one-to-one with the cartoon is I believe in the cartoon he actually has a web cape, and they couldn't like render that onto the model, so no web cape. But it's not a total bummer. It still is really cool to just be able to just straight up go invisible and then like lol nope past all of the enemies and take them down without having to worry about them, you know, beating you to a pulp like me. So really neat. And also one last thing, the voice of Spider-Man in this game, Rino Romano, also voiced Spider-Man in that cartoon, because around that time there was the Spider-Man Sad AM cartoon that Christopher Daniel Barnes voiced Spider-Man in. But no, this costume is linked to the voice actor of that cartoon, who also voice acted in this game, which I think was really neat. So they also got another piece of Rino Romano's Spider-Man in this game, which I really appreciated. But that's that costume. And next, guys, we're just not pulling any punches. We have a really funky costume, one of probably my least favorites. We have the amazing Bagman costume. And funny enough, this is an example of a downgrade costume. And what I mean by that is this costume actually does worse for you and doesn't help you. So the history behind this costume is, I believe it was right after Spidey was getting rid of the symbiote costume, and he took it to the Fantastic Four building, and of course, you know, he didn't have a costume on under it, so good old Johnny Storm, Human Torch, gave him a spare Fantastic Four uniform and put a paper bag on his head, and thus the amazing Bagman was born. So that's the backstory with this costume. Now, the reason I say this costume is actually more of a downgrade and a hindrance is it doesn't have a Spidey belt, so you can only hold 2 web cartridges. You can't go above 2 web cartridges, so if you want to actually put some challenge on yourself and not be able to hold as much webbing as you want, you can go with this costume and look really silly and feel bad about yourself. And next up, I'm jumping the line a little bit because these next 2 costumes are kind of similar and share the same things. Next up, we have Quick Change Spidey, which is, I believe, is original to this game. I don't recall seeing it in comic books, but if you guys have, be sure to let me know in the comments section down below. Yeah, this is pretty much Peter's regular outfit, but he's got a Spidey mask on that kind of looks like the symbiote mask. And that's pretty much it. It's just street clothes and a Spidey mask. But the reason I'm putting this next to Amazing Bagman is because, like Amazing Bagman, has no Spidey belt, so you can only hold 2 web cartridges. So this is like a hybrid costume where if you want to still look like Spidey but also look like Peter, here you go. But you also have the added challenge of not having more than 2 web cartridges. And that's going to segue us into the next costume, which is the Peter Parker costume. And good God, PS1 human faces are still a nightmare to look at. But regardless, guys, this is just straight up Peter Parker, the Disc Games rendition of Peter Parker. And you can play the whole game like this, and it is really weird. But like Quick Change and Bagman, you can only hold 2 web cartridges, so you want to put some extra challenge and look really weird, because it is really weird to see just a human and not Spidey in the costume. You can use this outfit. Also, fun fact, I did pop in the Dreamcast version recently, and for whatever reason, the Dreamcast version of this costume has him barefoot. Because I saw that and I was like, he has shoes in the PS1 version. And yeah, he has shoes. The Dreamcast version has him barefoot for whatever reason. I mean, it makes sense because if I'm trying to find the right words here, but you know, the skin contact, I forget what the word is, but he has stuff on his fingers and toes that allow him to cling to the wall. So it would make sense, you know, if his bare foot is touching the wall rather than having to go through what I'm presuming is a leather shoe there or some kind of penny loafer. But it's still weird to see a completely barefoot model. But then again, going back to Amazing Bagman, he is barefoot in that costume. So yeah, but that's that whole awkward explanation over with. But yeah, if you want to play as straight up Peter Parker and have challenge, there you go. And coming down to the wire here, guys, we have the Scarlet Spider costume. This was the costume worn by Peter's clone, so that way he could distinguish himself as another Spidey. And this costume is pretty much vanilla. It is just like the default costume, no power-ups. It's purely cosmetic, but if I'm being honest, Scarlet Spidey is one of my favorite costume designs. The hoodie is just so nice, and it is just an iconic costume. I mean, you don't go to a convention without seeing at least a handful of Scarlet Spideys. So, if you want to have a different change of pace and look at something different while you play the game other than the default amazing outfit, Scarlet Spidey's right up your alley. And last but not least, guys, we have a very similar outfit. We have the Ben Reilly outfit. I almost said Scarlet Spidey because it's another costume worn by Ben Reilly. And that's pretty much it. It's just a secondary outfit that Ben Reilly was wearing when he was Spider-Man. And like Scarlet and Amazing, the default, it does not have any in-game powers, so it is purely cosmetic. So once again, if you want to play the game with something that looks a little bit different, you can use this outfit for something different to look at while you're playing the game and have a breath of fresh air. God, I am not good at commentating. Stanley, how do you do it? Alright guys, and we are back. Hope you guys enjoyed viewing all those costumes. We're pretty much almost done, so we're going to wrap up stuff with looking at the gallery and looking at the stuff we've unlocked. So, first up we have a straight up character viewer.
The Amazing Spider-Man. Spidey's wall crawling and web slinging, combined with his super strength and amazing agility, make old Webhead one of the most spectacular superheroes around.
Spider sense tingling.
And really cool is in the character viewer, for most if not all of the characters, Stan Lee will give you a brief summary on the character, which I think is really cool. So we're just going to take some time now to go through that, and I'll let Stan the man do all the talking.
Our mild-mannered, highly intelligent, sometimes neurotic hero of the game. Felicia Hardy, also known as the Black Cat, is one of Spidey's few friends who knows his true identity. Now reformed, Dr. Otto Octavius is using his scientific knowledge for the good of humanity. One of Parker's photojournalistic rivals, Brock blames Parker for his bad reputation as a reporter. Add one alien symbiote, and you've got Venom. Not too friendly indeed. Doesn't he know that crime doesn't pay, especially with Spidey around? Old JJ is Peter's boss at the Daily Bugle. Unfortunately, one of his main goals in life is to prove that Spider-Man is a menace to the world rather than a hero. One of Spidey's most powerful enemies, Scorpion's hatred for Spidey, is only overshadowed by his hatred for J. Jonah Jameson, the man he blames for getting him stuck in his armored scorpion suit. Caused by the same accident that blinded him in youth, Matt Murdock's extrasensory powers give him all the advantage he needs to fight crime in the seedy underbelly of New York, otherwise known as Hell's Kitchen. Ah, New York's finest. Or maybe this is New York's finest. Rhino's thick polymer matted suit gives him his extraordinary strength and makes him virtually impervious to physical harm as well as extremely dangerous. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, an essential member of the Fantastic Four and also one of Spidey's closest superhero friends. Easily one of Spider-Man's greatest foes of all time, Venom hates Spider-Man so much that he will do almost anything to ruin his life. Leftovers from one of the Lizard's sick experiments, these creatures are both powerful and vicious. Be careful, Spidey. The Lizard, product of a twisted experiment gone wrong. Ah, Mary Jane, Peter Parker's lovely wife. Symbiotes. These twisted beasts are so vicious, they could only come from one place. Quentin Beck, also known as Mysterio, Master of Illusion. Frank Castle fights the seedy side of the world as the Punisher, with a vigilante-style justice. The not-so-reformed mastermind behind this insidious plot, Doc Ock. A sick and twisted combination, the symbiote offspring of Venom with the serial killer mentality of Cletus Cassidy make Carnage one of the deadliest villains of them all. The hideously grotesque, superpowered symbiote Doc Ock. An Avenger and an icon to people everywhere, Captain America is the definition of a true hero.
Alright guys, and I'm going to come back here because we have an extra character in the character viewer, which the Eelnats everything unlocked code will just throw in there. But if you just put in the what if mode code and play through and meet a requirement, you get this character in the character viewer. The Submariner, which awkwardly enough, good old Stan does not do a bio on, but he's not really in any of the Spider-Man comics too much, so his little cameo in What If mode kind of just throws him in there. Really neat, though. That's it for the character viewer. Movie viewer is pretty much what it is. All the in-game cutscenes. And then we have the comic book collection, which is basically just a whole bunch of classic Spider-Man comic book covers. A lot of really good stuff. Amazing Spider-Man. What was it? Number 1, 200. Oh, man, why I had to go there. Yeah, just a lot of really cool Spider-Man covers that have a lot of history of the character. And yeah, you can pretty much pick up all of these as you play through the game. Or not. You can just use the code. And a lot of these are just super nostalgic to me. I love a lot of these comic book covers. I got a good amount of them on t-shirts and posters and stuff. But I mean, this is me we're talking about, the big Spider-Man nerd. But yeah, a lot of these are really nostalgic and just really cool looking. Alright, right there, there's a Spider-Man 2099 comic. Not even having to do anything with the Amazing line. And of course, we got Amazing Fantasy, where it all started. And then, really cool, Amazing Spider-Man 252 not reparodying, but homaging that very first comic book cover. And we got straight up game covers, which you guys are used to. 6 game covers of the game. That pretty much are like, hey, new chapter territory. And last but not least, we got storyboards, which just show off a lot of how stuff was drawn. And it's really cool to see all this stuff. But with that, guys, that's pretty much everything that Spider-Man has to offer. This has been such an amazing journey for me. Like I said, this is one of my favorite video games ever. You know, one of the very few first video games I ever played as a kid. And this game holds a very special place in my heart. I know it is aged really badly, and I'm just purely speaking from nostalgia. But if you can, go out and get a copy of this game and play it. Whether it's the Windows 95 copy, the PS1 copy, I don't know why I'm saying copy, the PS1 version, the Dreamcast version, which is probably the highest quality, best controlling. The Dreamcast tweaks the controls a little bit, makes it a little bit smoother. I'd say if you even have a Dreamcast, if you want to play the smoothest version and best looking version of this game, I would say get the Dreamcast version. I don't know if the PC version is up to par with the Dreamcast version, but I'd say play the Dreamcast version. If you don't mind about graphics at all or anything, the N64 version is a good version, a little jankier I think with N64's controls, and you miss out on the nostalgic FMV cutscenes. But if you want that version, there's no problem with it. All versions of the game, as far as I know, are good versions. So with that, guys, I highly recommend you guys go out, get this game in some vein, and play it. And before I go, I did want to add one thing. Like I mentioned, I did play this game on normal mode. I completely forgot. I was testing some stuff off screen, and I tested what if mode on easy mode. And some stuff in easy mode, the levels are outright changed. And what I mean by that is, if you guys remember in the trench level, when we were swinging through those turrets, in easy mode, they just put a bridge that you can just walk through the rooms. So, by all means, if you think normal mode is a little too difficult, with the combat, especially the enemies that get really strong, try out easy mode. No shame. But with that, guys, that's this bonus episode ended. Over. I don't know, I'm terrible at anything. If you guys enjoyed this Let's Play and this episode, you guys know what to do. And I will see you guys in my next project. Peace!